Today we're going over the 2026 Fallen Heroes banner in Fire Emblem Heroes. This year we have Fallen Male Byleth, Ivy, Rearmed Canis, and Rearmed Tibarn. We have two Rearmed heroes, but Byleth and Ivy will be permanent pull 5-star units. As usual, there is no 4-star focus unit for this banner. Fallen Male Byleth, like his female counterpart, is representing Sothis taking over their body during the events of 3 Hopes. Byleth will be a green infantry mage with 40 HP, 47 attack, 48 speed, 31 defense, and 28 res. He has a great speed super boot. For old skills, Byleth has attack and speed aria, and he's already given up instructing to use dual support 4. That kinda is fitting because in 3 Hopes, Byleth doesn't become a professor at the Officers Academy. Now Byleth's tome is Sothis' Wrath. At start of turn and after acting, inflict Panic, Speed Shackle, and Res Shackle on closest foe and anyone within 2 spaces. Byleth will get Sling, plus 15 stats in combat, and the usual 25 true damage with 15 flat DR. Last, he has his typical no follow-up to utilize his speed. Besides the Panic and Shackle debuff support, very basic weapon so far. Well, Sothis' Wrath comes with a unique style. Like his Brave Vault, Byleth can attack from 3 spaces away. He also gets 10 true damage for this attack. You have the usual range attack style conditions, and this can be used once per turn. Byleth's unique special is Serious Pulse, and this is where things get a bit more serious. This 5 cooldown special has 100% speed scaling for its damage. At start of turn, inflict -7 speed and res, and share spoils on the closest foe and anyone within 2 spaces. Byleth will have a built-in sabotage effect, so he inflicts extra debuffs equal to the highest debuff on each stat on the foe. This can borrow debuffs from nearby foes as well. For damage reduction, Byleth has 40% unpierceable DR for all hits taken. However, if he is initiating, or it's the first fight in an enemy phase, Byleth gets 80% damage reduction for first attacks. Last, Byleth will have the 100% pulse and follow-up effect. Sothis' Wrath is pretty basic because, oh boy, this special is packed. Byleth can give an extra action to whoever defeats the first foe with his shared spoils. He also inflicts some debuffs, and for himself, Byleth has Sabotage to double up those debuffs. The 100% potent effect, very strong as usual, and then we have 80% unpierceable damage reduction. No wonder Claude just went to taking 1 damage because Byleth is putting Fallen Star to shame here. For new inheritable skills, Byleth brings Demonic Force, which is a kinda funny name because it's basically a Magic Gambit upgrade. This skill inflicts -4 speed and res on the enemy and neutralizes all stat debuffs during combat. You deal true damage equal to 5 times the unit's max special cooldown value. You get flat DR equal to 3 times the unit's max special cooldown value. Last, Demonic Force grants preempt pulses -1 instant cooldown before attacking. As mentioned, this skill upgrades out of Magic Gambit 3, which was only ever on young male Robin. Magic Gambit was kinda ignored because it was weaker than its regular Gambit counterpart and released right after Legu's Friend, which is a full DR piercing special skill, not great timing. Like the dodge skills, we've ditched regular % DR for flat damage reduction, while still benefiting from high cooldown specials, which has become the norm nowadays. Besides keeping and upgrading the true damage effect, Demonic Force adds debuff neutralization and pre-impulse cooldown, very good abilities for pretty much anyone. Fallen Male Byleth has some very powerful effects. He doesn't dance units, but you can kinda see how Sure Spoils emulates the extra action support. For his own combat, Byleth wants to initiate from 3 spaces away with his style. He's going to get 80% unpierceable DR for first attacks, and about 32 flat DR from his kit. Unless the enemy can bust out like 300 plus damage, Byleth will get to his follow-up if he outspeeds. With dual supports Tempo and Demonic Force's preempt pulse, Byleth can trigger Serious Pulse on the 3rd potent hit. He must tank a counterattack for this to happen though, so if Byleth only attacks twice, then he will be short on cooldown. As for true damage, Byleth's base kit gives about 40 damage per hit. When Serious Pulse triggers, Aria and Demonic Force grants another 40 true damage, so 80 total on that hit. Oh yeah, if you end up attacking a Sure Spoils target, Byleth will get 100% regular DR piercing. If you KO them, Byleth can use the extra action himself, and he can initiate with 80% damage reduction again. Even when enemy phase starts, Byleth gets the 80% DR for 1 fight. You can definitely run close counter skills just for fun because of this. Now if you want this guy to take even less damage, you can try to get attack debuffs. You can also stack the Sabotage status with the built-in Sabotage on Serious Pulse. Some kind of healing sustain would also be appreciated. For other skills, Byleth could use Creation Pulse, Pulse On, Times Pulse, or Silence Ward. Honestly, any kind of -1 cooldown would be nice for insurance if he only hits twice. For the B slot, Demonic Force is fine, and we kinda need to cooldown, but you could also run things like Conjuring Breath, Low Finish, or Pair Up. For Sacred Seals, attack and speed stat boosters are fine, but the more % DR you have, the more valuable HP becomes. Overall, Fallen Male Byleth does require some hits to charge up to his special, but he has a lot of damage reduction to get there eventually. Also, the Sheriff's Bell's support is just really good. Extra actions should always be respected. Next, it seems like all the near save-out losses has finally gotten to Ivy, or this is just the Ivy from the Fel Xenologue DLC for Engage. This Ivy is a colorless flying mage, so that means she now covers all 4 color types with her ults. She will have 40 HP, 49 attack, 29 speed, 23 defense, and 48 res. Ivy has attack and defense super boons. For ult skills, Ivy has Logic as her special. She also has attack and res detect aerial for debuffing. Ivy has the Fel Tome. For Ivy and allies within 3 rows or columns, Ivy gets plus 15 stats in combat while allies get plus 5. Everyone will neutralize stat debuffs, and just like Harmonic Winter Ivy, she gives -1 instant cooldown before every single attack. For herself, Ivy has Kanto Distance, Slaying, and she nullifies enemy adaptive damage effects. She does 25 true damage and has 15 flat DR. Ivy then has no guard and heals 7 HP after combat. Some very nice support here. If you have Harmonic Ivy, you could just get minus instant cooldown on every single hit. It's kind of ridiculous. Everything else here is pretty good too. No guard and debuff neutralization are great. The 7 HP healing is important too. Ivy's unique A skill is Final Say. At start of either phase, grants Creation Pulse and Anathema statuses to allies within 2 spaces. Ivy has Pass and can move to a tile within 2 spaces of allies within 2 spaces, or she can warp around allies within 5 spaces if they entered combat or use an assist skill on the current turn. As for her own comment, Ivy gets +9 flat stats. If she has higher res than the enemy or is near an ally, Ivy gets brave attacks. Ivy deals true damage equal to 5 multiplied by the number of times she attacked in the current combat. Last, she will get Miracle. Basically, Fallen Ivy has a lot of the same perks as Harmonic Winter Ivy. Brave hits require out-resing the enemy, or if you warp near an ally, that works too. The true damage scales off number of attacks, so the first hit gets 5 damage, while the 4th quad hit would get 20 true damage. Ivy can loot Miracle for herself, and she has flat stats for things like attack and res detect aerial. For new perks, Ivy has Creation Pulse for even more cooldown, and Anathema for stat debuffing. Ivy no longer has her +1 movement effect, but the 5 range warping is pretty crazy. She can easily follow up if someone initiates, and she has Pass, so Warp Bubble will not help. For another aspect of Harmonic Ivy, Fallen Ivy has the attack and res Crux Ploy C skill. These are pretty much just a combo of Ploy and Crux debuffs. If you have high res like Ivy, then it's just a better Crux skill. -4 stat debuffs, follow-up support, and the usual Ploy with exposure statuses. Ivy does bring a fair amount of stat support for her team with her weapon, A skill, and passives. She also gives 20 true damage to allies with 10 from Detect Aerial and 10 from exposure via Crux Ploy. Last, you got excellent cooldown support, -1 instant cooldown on every single attack, and then -2 cooldown on the first hit via Creation Pulse. Stacking Fallen or Harmonic Ivies would be a lot of fun. As for combat, between Fel Tome, Logic, and Creation Pulse, Ivy will instantly proc Logic on the first hit. Thanks to her -1 cooldown and no guard effects, her second and third hits would recharge Logic in time for a second activation on the 4th quad attack. Ivy isn't the fastest, but she gets a free follow-up from Crux. She has Miracle to survive 1 fatal blow, so if you don't stop her quad attack, then you might be in trouble. Another thing to watch for is Ivy's warping range. If an ally attacks or assists, she can use them to hop around very far. Ivy also comes with Pass, so you gotta watch out for that. Generally, you don't need to swap out anything, but Ivy could use Strat Assault to get her 3 movement back and let allies charge into battle first. Detect Aerial is fine, but you could also run Shackle or Havoc debuffs. For more cooldown, which may be overkill, Ivy could use Conjuring Breath or Silence Ward. The new Demonic Force is good, but Ivy is mainly depending on Miracle to survive rather than flat DR, and Demonic Force doesn't help the team. For fun, Ivy could use Close Transcend. If you don't burst her down, then she's gonna proc Logic with a second Brave hit. Another fun skill is Desperation. Ivy can chain Miracle, so if she's on that low HP, then Desperation might let her get an instant quad for the next fight. Unlike most double special proc methods, Ivy can get her second Logic without getting hit. Desperation support from, say, Emblem Lin wouldn't be terrible if foes don't counter it. Last, for other secret seals, Ivy can use Stillwater or Squad Ace CY for +4 flat attack and res. You could stack a Rain skill to go with the Crux Ploy and Anathema. I would also say a Flyer Mobility seal would be useful too. All in all, Fallen Ivy is very similar to her Harmonic form. If you like spamming specials, her cooldown support is even better this time. Our first rearmed fallen hero for the banner is Canis. She's the 11th Deadlord and appears to be using Sarah's body for this revival. Canis is a red infantry mage with 37 HP, 45 attack, 48 speed, 14 defense, and 49 res. She has a good res super boon and then an interesting defense super boon. I'm not sure that's gonna help, although Canis doesn't give up on defense completely. For old skills, Canis has Comet, so you got a 40% DR special, and attack and speed Oreo will turn that into 20 extra true damage when it does trigger. Arcanis' weapon is Arcane 12's Writ. Interesting name. At start of turn and after acting, inflict -7 speed and res, sabotage to double those up, and then speed and res shackle for even more debuffing. These will hit the closest foe and anyone nearby. For the user, you get the usual 4th gen arcane weapon perks, Slang, plus 15 stats, 25 true damage, 15 flat DR, and 50% DR piercing. Arcane 12's Writ is the 3rd arcane red tome. It's very heavy on the speed and res debuffing. If you get one more status, altogether you can inflict -22 speed and res just from this weapon. If the foe neutralizes debuffs but is near a debuffed friend, you can still maybe get -15 speed and res. That's not too bad. Now to stand out, Canis has a unique C skill called 11th Deadlord. At start of either phase grants +6 attack and res, anathema, and low to allies within 2 spaces. Canis gets +5 phantom res and disables the foe's adaptive damage effects. Canis will get bonus stats equal to 4 times the number of allies with anathema active. This includes Canis herself, so she just needs to buff 2 allies for a pretty nice +12 to all stats. Finally, Canis has 7 flat DR and no guard effects. 11th Deadlord provides even more stat support and negates the foe's field buffs. Canis herself actually gets a good bit of stat stacking. With a weapon and this skill, she can get +27 to all stats, even defense. 11th Deadlord comes with a unique Berserk style. Like Legendary Elise or Sombron, Canis gets to attack foes 5 spaces away and within 3 rows or columns. No one in the fight is going to deal damage, but after combat, Canis will inflict Feud and Discord onto the target. In addition, Canis gets an extra action. So unfortunately, more fortunately, the Berserk staff will not be making units attack their own friends. Maybe give it a couple more years of power creep before that starts to happen. Instead, I guess to emulate a unit going berserk, they get hit with Feud and Discord. You know, if there is a crazy person going around, I don't really want to support them, so I guess that's why Feud is there, and a crazy person would also cause Discord in the crowd. Berserk style doesn't really live up to its mainline counterpart, but I can see what they were trying to do. Now, for a new inheritable B skill, Canis has speed and res Unrest. Legendary Leon just introduced this skill line for ranged infantry. Unrest is kind of like a counterpart to Detect Area. For foes on the map with lower flat res than the user, they cannot heal and get inflicted with speed and res debuffs equal to the number of status types on the map. If there are 7 statuses, you can get a max of -7 speed and res. For the user, Unrest grants Conto 1, they inflict another -4 speed and res in combat, and deal true damage and get flat DR equal to 20% of their res stat in combat. Overall, Unrest is a decent support option for high res units. It also has true damage and flat DR components, as well as Conto to move around. Between her weapon and Unrest, Canis can inflict -29 speed and res on all foes. If you include Anathema, that amount goes even further, plus Canis provides some field buffs and low as well. For extra support, Canis can use Berserk style to inflict Feud and Discord. Unfortunately, Canis cannot move to use this style, which means foes have to step into her range. If you want to be like Legendary Elise and move first before using this style, you could use Emblem Makai's ring. If you can use Berserk, this would help Canis charge Comet since she has no guard. Without it, Canis might not trigger Comet in one round. In general, Canis would like some kind of cooldown support, or just skills like Time's Pulse or Flashing Blade. She won't be pre-charging Comet unless you wait a couple turns, although Canis could run Favor to get more cooldown without fighting. In combat, if you don't have an instant Comet, then Canis probably will need to tank a counter. She will get the 40% DR and stack a decent amount of defense with flat DR, but it would have been nice to also get attack debuffs. Starting with 14 base defense against the 7 million distant counters also isn't ideal, so definitely need to be careful. At least, Canis can attack dragons since she negates adaptive damage. For other skills, Canis would like no follow-up, so perfect attack and speed is an option. She could also use Crystalline or Still Water for flat res for Unrest's debuffs. I don't think she wants to give up Aria though. The 20 true damage when Comet does trigger is pretty nasty. As for B skills, Demonic Force and Conjuring Breath both have cooldown effects plus true damage with flat DR, but these are selfish skills. Unrest or Favor can help the team out, so it's up to you on what you want. For an Echo skill, the classic Time's Pulse would be great. Slight Echo would help beat Fall of Denial, and Mercy Wing could also allow for a surprise warp. In conclusion, Rearmed Canis has some decent stat support, but Berserk style may be tough to use without extra actions to first reposition. It's still a good zone denial tool though. If a foe gets hit by feud, then no more support auras from allies, so it's a strong deterrent. Our last unit for the banner is Rearmed Fallen Tibarn. Kinda an odd choice, although I suspect it's mostly about needing someone to hold the first arcane flying beast weapon. This Tibarn is a flying blue beast with 43 HP, 49 attack, 42 speed, 48 defense, and 18 res. Tibarn has an attack super boon and is sacrificing res for great attack and defense with decent speed. For old skills, Tibarn only has attack and defense excel for that sweet flat DR. His weapon is going to be Arcane Fury Bite, which is the first arcane flying beast weapon. For foes within 3 rows or columns, inflict -5 stats, neutralize their field boss, and they take 10 true damage. The rest of this weapon is the standard 4th gen arcane perks. Slang, plus 15 stats, 25 true damage, 15 excel type flat DR, and 50% DR piercing. Pretty straightforward weapon, low on 10 true damage are pretty universal support effects. In the last 4 to 5 years, the only flying beasts have been Embla, Elm, and Rustvelger. The main users of Fury Bite would be Tibarn's other ults, Nasala, Raisin, or Lian, and then Pirate Vika. Not a ton of potential users, but hey, more than Armored Beast choices from last year, that's for sure. To help stand out, Tibarn will be getting a unique beast skill, Chaos Turned. At start of turn and after acting, inflict -7 attack and defense, frozen, and sabotage on closest foes. Tibarn gets contact distance +1, and finally is always transformed, just like in the mainline games. He will inflict an extra -5 attack speed and defense, and deals true damage plus gets flat DR equal to 20% of his defense stat. Last, we have a very nice surprise. Tibarn straight up gets Felix's Lone Wolf extra actions. If he initiates, he gets an extra action. If he moves without fighting, that's another extra action in the same turn. I'm very surprised they gave out Felix's extra action ability before double slaying. Somehow, despite units like Ivy giving cooldown on every single hit, double slaying's still too good apparently. Anyway, Tibarn will be just like Felix since he gets 3 movement when transformed, and he has a solid Kanto ability. On top of this, like his pirate ults are fine, Tibarn once again gets frozen. Tibarn also has sabotage to double up his debuffs, but he does not have speed debuffs this time. If you can get those on the team, that's even better to pair with frozen. Tibarn brings a new beast special called Sturdy Lagoos. This is a 5 cooldown special with guaranteed 40% DR for first attacks. It also has 100% defense scaling. For its extra perk, when you're transformed, Sturdy Lagoos gives the special fighter combo of breath type cooldown and guard. It's not instant cooldown, but Sturdy Lagoos at least has a cooldown perk for those without breath type cooldown. Guard is nice as well, and Beast Infantry can pair both of these perks with their innate tempo effects. You do need to be transformed, but if you want a high damage special with 40% guaranteed DR, then Sturdy Lagoos fills that role for the Beast class. Infantry and Armored Beasts can still run Comet, but this might be more preferable for some. Last new inheritable for this banner is Dark Beast Agility. This is another Beast Feud C skill, so it disables all support auras from enemies besides the main target. It also inflicts -4 attack speed and defense, and gives 5 true damage plus 5 flat DR for first attacks. Last, if you outspeed the enemy, you get no follow-up. There have been a couple Beast Agility B skills, but now it's combined with a Beast Feud C skill. Unlike the other Feud variants, Dark Beast Agility will get 5 true damage and 5 flat DR, cause that's how power creep be. In general, any of the Feud options can be worth using because of just how many support auras are on the map at a time these days. For his general game plan, Rearmed Tibarn will get 3 movement and Felix's crazy extra actions. He can move, get refreshed, move and attack, get refreshed, move and attack again, and then finally contour the safety. It is a bit absurd as most people are familiar with by now. When Tibarn gets into a fight, he will have frozen with some sabotage debuffing plus low to neutralize field boss. If the foe cannot match Tibarn's defense, he will outspeed them naturally. If Tibarn attacks and tanks a counterattack, then Sturdy Lagoos will be charged up for the follow-up. He also has a 40% DR plus Excel and the rest of his passives for flat DR stacking. If you want to spice up Tibarn's combat, the new Echo skills would be pretty amazing. Puts in speed condition stacks with Frozen because Frozen changes the actual speed rolls for doubling. A third 100% potent hit would be great. Another good skill is Momentum Echo. Minus instant cooldown could help offset enemy guard or tempo effects. You can go even further with both of these and run the Dive Bomb Sacred Seal for desperation. Trample works too, but it doesn't grant defense. For other skills, Tibarn could use Gale Force Mist for another action. You will lose the big burst damage from Sturdy Lagoos, but if you can reach a vulnerable backline, could be worth it. For A skill, Strat Flame has breath type cooldown if you want to switch to Gale Force Mist. but it also has 5 flat DR and its 2 rows of flame tiles. In the C slot, Feud is really nice to have, but Tibarn could technically use no uplift to give no follow-up to teammates. There's also uplift imbue for healing. As for hold guide, the 2-space warping would be pretty great with Tibarn because he can warp, then refresh himself, then you can have allies warp around him. After that, Tibarn still gets to move again. That could open up some interesting maneuvers to ferry the team around. Overall, Rearmed Tibarn finally makes use of his Lagu's royalty transforming for superior mobility. Frozen can turn any fight on its head if you're not careful, and Tibarn can trigger it while refreshing himself. Just like Felix, be very careful of Tibarn's actual initiation range. That'll be it for this year's Fallen Heroes banner. A couple interesting skills on hand, plus we got 2 rearmed units, so some good fodder opportunity. If you aren't summoning, the Grand Hero banner unit for this year is Miklan. He is an armored beast unit, so that will be very exciting to talk about. We'll discuss more in the next video. Thank you for watching, good luck on your summons, and I will see you in the next one.